Hey, what's up? Welcome to Degen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts like the chart behind me, which is of Luminar Technologies, ticker symbol LAZR. And so I wanted to do a follow-up on last week's video, which I put out on the morning of during the pre-market of January 18th. So the last candle on that day was this one on January 17th. And in that video, I was suggesting that this could be a great opportunity to buy, that the bottom could be in. Or, I was also posing the question, or is this the time to run? And for the thumbnail of that, I actually included a little image of an old lady screaming because somebody in the comments was saying, you want to be running from this. I felt differently, though. I thought that the bottom might be in on this day, on January 17th, and I was a little bit off. The low on that day was, let's see, $2.14, and we surpassed that by, let's see, 5 cents. A couple days later, going to a low of $2.09. And that did actually break this downtrending purple line that I had drawn based on these two lows over here. But, it was just a wick down, and we closed above, forming this nice, what looks like a dragonfly doji, nearly a doji, on that day, suggesting that there would be a reversal to follow. And, if you would have bought the dip at $2.14, placed an order to buy if it did hit that level again, which did happen, and then you sold at the high just a few days later, that would have been a 36% move. So that would have been pretty excellent. However, we do see that we are starting to get a little bit of a pullback. So I just kind of wanted to go over where I see the stock going over the next couple days into next week before I do the next weekly video on Luminar. And so, what happened following that trading day when I did that video, when we did put in the lows here. Actually, the day after that, the day that I recorded that on the 18th before the market opened, we did fill the gap to the upside that was formed the day before, so that was great. And then a couple days later, we actually created a gap going to the upside. So now we need to fill that, coming down to $2.41. It's quite possible that we don't fill that for a little while. However, just like in last week, some price targets were put out. And for this week, the price targets are much lower, going down to $2 a share. So that's lower than the current price. So that's not great news. That could be why we saw a 7% down move on the day, closing at a price of $2.65. However, I don't think that was completely bearish. I do think that we are holding some strength. And also, the day prior, just yesterday, on January 24th, we did hit a high of $2.92, so almost $3, which I had suggested in last week's video would be significant resistance. And so if I do throw up the volume profile, we can see that we are starting to get into, or we were starting to get into, pretty highly traded areas where we see all of this volume traded, this volume shelf sticking out here due to the tops that we were forming over here above $3 a share. So that is going to be significant resistance. I'm not surprised that we saw a little bit of a pullback. I do hope, though, that we are able to reverse a little bit tomorrow on Friday, January 26th, and close above $2.71, as we do have a nice volume shelf below that level that could be serving as support for another test or attempt at getting to $3 a share. And so what I see happening, whether the stock continues higher or starts to pull back, I do think that we will get another attempt higher. And if we can close above yesterday's close of really, actually, we want to be closing above the high. That would be $2.92. If we can get a close above that, that would negate any suggestion of this being a topping tail or a reversal signal that we saw yesterday. So ideally what happens on Friday, January 26th is we open lower than today's close of $2.65. But if we can close tomorrow on January 26th above today's open, which was $2.78, that would be a bullish engulfing candle, and that could suggest further upside. But, we still need to close above $2.92. And so if we can't close above 271 or 278, if we can't close above 292, I do think we will be returning to lower levels, which could be this red line at $2.50. Which I do think is a psychological level and has served as resistance in the past, which would then act as support in the future. But we could also get a fill of this gap to $2.41. And so I suspect we might get a wick down to that level, ideally a close above $2.50, and then start to form a bottom. And so that is my bearish scenario. Whereas the bullish scenario is to be closing above 271, above 278, and ideally above 292. But we'll have to see how the week closes. And with that, I do want to point out that the weekly candle, we did not open lower than last week's close, so it would not be a bullish engulfing candle. Ideally, we shrink this wick that we see at the top, so because that could suggest that we are going to continue to the downside, that there are sellers up here above 271. So ideally, we close the week with a very little wick, and that would suggest that we are going to continue strong into next week. So those are my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and congrats if you didn't run. Take care.